You know, folks, sometimes Western companies don't produce enough merchandise for some Western properties. Case in point, let's say you want a 3 3/4 inch Batman figure, and your choices are kind of limited. I mean, while the DC Infinite Heroes one is kind of an okay figure, you might want something with a bit more articulation. At which point you're really left with two options. The first is to think, why do I want a 3 3/4 inch Batman in the first place? And you can kind of rationalize that you don't really need or want this thing. Or you can just import it. Watch this review here with a look at the Takara Microman, maybe it was just Takara back then, can't be sure, Microman Batman, which has the kind of articulation that I do like. For those of you not familiar with Takara, they're kind of like the Hasbro of Japan in that they do cover a lot of really popular series, including a lot of stuff Hasbro does cover in the US, like Transformers. Their Microman line, is 3 3/4 inch figures with a good amount of articulation, alternate parts, and all that, and it does cover a lot of different properties. I previously reviewed the Superman from the Superman Returns line. Picked this one up a while ago. By the time it arrived, didn't so much care anymore, so I just put it up on a shelf, and it's kind of been on a shelf ever since. But all the same, somebody asked if I could review this. I figured, you know what? Sure, why not? Haven't even seen this thing in a while. Barely remembered owning it, but I picked him up loose. I also got the Catwoman and the Batgirl. As well as I believe they're all the accessories for them. In this case, it's some alternate hand parts, a stand, and here it is, the grappling gun. Now, I believe this figure might have originally come two-packed with the Batgirl, though I think both of them were also available individually. When you buy loose, you don't really know these things, and the listing is long gone, but as previously mentioned, this is exactly on the scale that I want it to be. Here's the DC Infinite Heroes Batman, and here's the Marvel Universe Classic Armor Iron Man. So, I mean, kind of fits in the general range. But hey, let's toss a G.I. Joe in there for comparison purposes. So yeah, definitely a good height for it. So let's take a much closer look at this. You guys don't matter anyway. Now, as you'll undoubtedly notice, this is more of a mostly black outfit. It looks like the cape and cowl are more of a bluish color, which is kind of funky. But the actual body itself is a sort of light black color. It's kind of a weird color in the first place. It's really reminiscent of the look that he went with in, the Burton Batman movies. Except for you have this kind of hokey greenish belt instead of a more yellowish one, but you have the yellow bat logo, which coincidentally is my favorite of the bat logos. Little factoid. In terms of sculpt, I think this is just the sort of standard Microman body, but with that you get the somewhat standard Microman articulation, which is a pretty fair amount. You, of course, will notice that the forearms here are sculpted with the, I don't know what you call them, but the gauntlets or whatever, these spikes, so, I mean, there is some amount of customization there. And of course, the belt is probably a newly sculpted piece, or was a newly sculpted piece back then. The figure itself, I believe, is a bit on the older side. Cape, just not a ton of detail. But where these figures really excel with is just the crazy amount of articulation, including the alternate hands. You just pull this off, and you can place one of these other ones in here, like the Batman Judo Chop. Or you can have people talk to the hand, or halt evildoers. These fingers look kind of outrageously long. I don't know, maybe it's just my imagination. Oh, behave! But you have some for like sort of open hand for the weapons. You have the closed fists, and then just some various stuff in between, which is really cool. Back to the subject of articulation, Microman figures kind of have a standard going on, but we have a point here at the wrist, forward back, rotation at the forearm, so you get a pretty decent range. Double pin here at the elbow. Shoulder has point of rotation at the bicep. Then a normal ball joint here. It's a physical ball. As well as an interior joint for the, what do you even call that muscle? No, it's not the trapezoids, is it? No, that's the legs. I'm totally blanking on it, but it's like a outer pectoral thing. Very neat. It gives you some really cool range. Head also on a physical ball. Oh no, it's not on a physical ball. It's on a peg, so only rotation. That's a little bit disappointing. Waist. We have this torso joint here. Good forward back. It's some amount of rotation, but it's kind of impeded for some reason. I'm not sure why it's so impeded. In addition, you also have a joint down here, which also surprisingly has forward back in addition to rotation. So, very good ab section. Leg, ball joint. Then you have a point of rotation at the upper thigh. Double joint here at the knee, which is concealed as well, which is kind of neat. Then down here at the ankle, we have a rotation, forward and back, and then a side-to-side pivot. So, you really get a spectacular range of motion on this. In fact, the only thing that the character is really missing is some accessories. Like, he really could have used, like, say, a batarang and stuff. But maybe that's in with the other packs. I don't know, I haven't even looked at the other envelopes. All around, this is just a really excellent figure in terms of posability. Just all around pretty neat. Only sort of downside is just the fact that you don't have as much kind of muscular definition. Because, they use kind of a standard body, and then in places you do sort of have some exposed metal bits, which is kind of surprising. Like on one side you have like nothing here, not even the plastic, then on the inner side you have the plastic and then metal bits. It's kind of crazy. But just a really, really spectacular looking figure. I can't say I'm entirely in love with the face sculpt here. It's just not a great looking face or chin. Even the Infinite Heroes one I think really captures the head a lot nicer, but at the same time, it does kind of work. And this is possibly the definitive Batman to get on the 3 3/4 inch scale, or at least to the best of my awareness. But I'm not sure what they might be doing with the Infinite Heroes line going forward, and there might be some other older stuff that I'm overlooking. One kind of downside is just the way that the hands are implemented and stuff. I don't think he'll be able to hold positions with the grappling gun for very long, because I would love to just have him posed on the side of a bookshelf. Yep, there it goes. Except for it slipped from his hand. I was expecting the hand to pop out from the elbow, but just kind of have him like walking up a building or something, because that'd be really cool pose to leave him in. Actually, I might try using a another hand grip for that. But this has been a look at the Takara Microman Batman. I'm not sure about the make other than that, but, very decent looking figure. A ton of articulation. Definitely the one to get if you're going to pick up a 3 3/4 figure. And, there are certain advantages to the smaller scale, just in terms of, I guess, displays available, and then, just the same scale with the G.I. Joes for vehicles and stuff. So, until next time, folks. Oh, by the way, it goes without saying, but I did end up picking up a PS3 Slim, so I will kind of be going back to normal in coming weeks.